Hello everyone, and today I'm doing a video about the top 5 best and worst Goosebumps books. So first I'm going to start out with the worst, so then when I get to the best it'll be like a happier conclusion to my video. So I'm starting out with the top 5 worst Goosebumps books of all time. And number 5 is Say Cheese and Die Again. Episode isn't that good, but this book is pretty boring. Nothing really scary happens in this book, and definitely nothing that will give you goosebumps. The beginning was pretty cool when the person got a nail stuck in his foot, but then after that, things got not as scary. And yeah, like when they took a picture of the main character, I forgot his name at this very moment, he turned fat. And that doesn't really give me goosebumps. There's a picture that makes someone fat. The Say Cheese and Die first book, now that one was really, really, really scary. That was pretty freaky, all the stuff that happened, like a girl disappeared and all stuff. But in this one, it's just so boring, the consequences of taking the camera. And you'd think they'd be better off not taking pictures of each other. I mean, not better off, but do you think the main character after the first book would know, maybe I shouldn't take pictures with this camera? Yeah, it's weird. Very weird. But, yeah, the reason I chose this was because of the boring pictures that they took and what happened after the pictures were taken. It's just very boring what happened. The cover's okay, I guess, but it's not scary, and it's nothing that'll give you goosebumps. Unless, no, really, there's nothing you're gonna be afraid of. I mean, the main character turns fat, and that's pretty much it. Anyway, next one I have is My Best Friend is Invisible. I don't know if you can see the camera. Okay, there we go. So this book was boring. Very boring. You'd think that a book with Invisible Boy would not be boring, but it's boring. The invisible boy's trying to help the main character and stuff. And that just doesn't make sense. If you're trying to make a good Goosebumps antagonist, you don't make an annoying one who wants to help the main character, but fails at doing that. You need him to attack the main character, be evil, cause him to do all that stuff intentionally. But instead, it made the invisible boy a friend. Or at least try to be a friend of the main character. And the not-so-nice main character doesn't like it. So the whole book's the invisible boy trying to help the main character, and the main character trying to get rid of the invisible boy. And that is boring. Just plain boring. In the end, it got a little good with the twist, which I'm not going to tell you because it's a really good twist. But other than that, this book was boring. You easily could get lost in this book. And it was just, as I said, boring. Nothing special about it. I just didn't like it. The next book I have on the worst list is Are You Terrified Yet? Unlike the previous two, this book isn't boring, but it's just that nothing supernatural happens in the book. It's just a bunch of kids daring each other to do this and that, and stick your hand in a jar of spiders, and go inside a coffin. And yeah, it's just things that are dark and spooky, but still nothing supernatural happens. Whole thing's pranks and jokes and attempted pranks, and this kid trying to prove that he's brave, and that's it. It's not something that'd give me goosebumps. It's a pretty interesting read, I guess, but nothing supernatural happens, and that's what really just bums me about this book. The next book for the second place of the worst Goosebumps book of all time is How I Learned to Fly. If you're going to get a book from a children's book series of horror, a horror children's book series, I don't think you'd choose How I Learned to Fly. This was one of the last Goosebumps books I've actually read, and it's definitely one of the worst. Kind of like My Best Friend's Invisible. It's boring and nothing really happens. And it's just not that special. And it's not that good. It's just a little boring read about a kid who wants to fly. If it wasn't a horror children's book series, I would expect something like this. But when you're expecting something scary, then it's really boring. It's just this kid trying to prove he's cool. He finds this fly book that teaches him how to fly. He flies around. It's really just a boring read. And it took me so longer than usual for me to read this book, just because it was so boring and nothing happened. And even in the Goosebumps book, in the Goosebumps books, they always end a chapter on a cliffhanger. They didn't even do this that much in this book. I mean, I can only remember one time they ended a chapter in some sort of cliffhanger. And that was when his dog started to fly. And it's pretty boring. And as the cover suggests, there's no evil seagulls, which is kind of disappointing. I could see R.L. Stine doing a lot with How I Learned to Fly, but instead, he wrote about something we all expected, a boring read about a kid who learns to fly. And I really wish he played on the evil seagulls part. I think that'd be cool. But yeah, and now it's time for the worst Goosebumps book of all time. Weirdo Halloween. This book is from the Horrorland series and is a special edition, so I was super excited to read this book. It's almost twice as long as the normal Goosebumps book, but it's twice as bad too. During the first 30 chapters or so, the main character has to fight against some alien named Bim. And Bim is very, very, very annoying. I hate Bim's character. He's like this bratty alien. It's odd. It's very odd. All he wants is back rubs and to annoy the reader to death. I was so annoyed after I read this book, and I was so happy when Bim left the story. But then, stranger things happen. After the main character gets rid of Bim, she's whisked back to Horrorland, where she has to survive a test from Jonathan Chiller. And this test is very uninteresting and doesn't really catch my attention. Overall, this book was very boring. I hated the villain, and Jonathan Chiller's test was also very, very boring. It was trying to prove that she was her. It was very odd, strange, and I did not like it. I like most weird Goosebumps books, but this book was over the top strange. Next, and now we are getting into the top 5 best Goosebumps books. And this one was a struggle. I like almost all Goosebumps books, except for those 5 that I just told to you. But here are the top 5 best Goosebumps books of all time. And hitting it at number 5 is How to Kill a Monster. How to Kill a Monster is very, very, very good. I like it how it cuts to the chase very fast and doesn't spend that much time. Kind of building up the mystery. I really enjoy that, how it just cuts to the chase very fast. And the whole book is centered around them trying to survive the monster. And I just love it that it cuts to the chase that fast. And it's so interesting. And you're at the edge of your seat the whole entire book. Very, very good read. And I read this book the fastest than any other Goosebumps book I've ever read. It's very good. And it feels shorter, but it's super good. For a book that has 100 pages, it seems like it only has half that much. Because it's so interesting and things happen so fast. And, it doesn't happen fast, but it cuts to the chase really fast, and the whole book's centered around them trying to survive from the monster. And I thought that was really good how they did that. Next book, at number 4, is My Hairiest Adventure. The plot really isn't that interesting. Main characters, occasionally interesting. The twist is pretty good, but the thing that drives home this book is the writing. When I read this book, it felt something different. The writing is just perfect in this book. I don't know how to explain it, but it's definitely got some really, really well written. It's very well written. I could tell you this is the most well written Goosebumps book of all time. I kind of wish he changed up the plot that his hair's growing. That's a little odd plot, but the twist is really good. But I really just like the writing in it. Everything else can just say bye-bye, but the writing was superb in this book. It was definitely the most well-written Goosebumps book of all time. And that's why I ranked it number 4 best Goosebumps book. Next one I have is Monster Blood 2. Monster Blood 2 is pretty scary itself. It's not scary, actually. But another very well-written book, and I absolutely adore Cuddles the hamster. Cuddles is so cool, and this book just felt very different from your average Goosebumps book. It was very good. Again, another well-written book. All Goosebumps books are well-written, but My Hairiest Adventure and Monster Blood 2 just stand out to me as the most well-written. And Cuddles is the best. Cuddles is awesome. I absolutely adore Cuddles the hamster. Anyway, next book I have is The Horror at Camp Jelly Jam. So I'm not going to tell you that much about this book because it's the number 2 best. And it's sort of a mystery, so I don't want to spoil that much for you. But all you have to know is that it's an awesome book and the mystery's really good. For Calling All Creeps is the best Goosebumps book of all time. And it's because it cuts to the chase pretty fast. Not as fast as How to Kill a Monster, but it really does cut to the chase. And I just love it how the creeps seem almost unstoppable and very deadly. And I love the twist. I'm not going to spoil it, but the twist is really surprising. Well, that's the end of my video. I hope you enjoyed the top 5 best and worst Goosebumps books.